Okay.
Can we
Shall we start?
Smriti?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll start.
Please go ahead. You can.
Okay. Good afternoon, participants. Let us start the session with a silent prayer. Success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep moving. They make mistakes, but they may not quit. With this thoughtful quote, we start this sixth session of PDP program. Now, I call Professor Janathanan to introduce our resource person.
Good evening. Are audible, ma'am? Are audible?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello.
you're audible.
Yes, yes. Good evening to each one of you present today. It is a moment of extreme pleasure to welcome the guests who are present here to attend the program. On behalf of the institution, I offer my regards to all the judges and the people joining us. I convey my regards to the chief guest of the day, Dr. A. Doraiswamy, Professor and Associate Dean, College of Science and Humanities, SRMIST, Chennai. I'm happy to introduce our chief guest today's program. So Dr. A. Doraiswamy sir, Professor and Associate Dean, College of Science and Humanities, SRMIST, Chennai. And Dr. Doraiswamy sir has been teaching economics and econometrics for the past 30 years. And sir retired as head of the Department of Economics and Dean of Humanities, Madras Christian College, Chennai. Respected sir, awarded as Best Teacher of Economics in Tamil Nadu for 2020. And one more award also is sir received a Senior Economics Award from Association of Economics Tamil Nadu in the 40th Annual Conference. Sir's educational qualification is BSc, MSc, MPhil, MBA, and PhD. Sir, PhD in Economics from Madurai Kamaraj University. Respected sir, guided as more than 40 MPhil students and 12 PhD scholars. So all the scholars are awarded. At present, sir guided 4 PhD scholars. Sir published various research articles and journals in national and international levels. He is an external examiner in PhD Viva is more than 45. Respected sir, nominated as an executive committee member of Indian Econometrics Society for the year 2016 and 17, 19 and 20, and 2020 and 21. The Bar Council of India nominated him as a member of inspection committee to approve courses of humanities offered by law colleges in India. Sir successfully organized the 39th Annual Conference of Association of Economics of Tamil Nadu on 21 and 22 December 2018 at Madras Christian College, Chennai. An organizing secretary with 350 participants. Sir organized workshops and economic tricks using or in Madras Christian College on 6th and 7th March 2020. His specialized areas like teaching mathematical economics, econometrics, statistics, quantitative techniques, and research methodologies. Respected sir, conducted around 50 workshops on data analysis using statistical package like SPP, SPSS, and eViews. And nearly 1,500 research scholars of humanities have been benefited in strengthening their research analysis. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting invitation and coming over the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
so much. So first of all, I thank Patrician College Management, and the principal and my good friend, and Professor Sweetie for arranging this, and all the participants. I could see around 200 participants are here. It's really overwhelming, and I'm motivated really, because whenever as a teacher, when you see more number of people are eager to listen you, then the teacher will definitely get enthused, and the flow will be so good. So I'm really thrilled to transfer whatever knowledge I possess in data analysis to you all. Hopefully I will try to satisfy you. Before I go into the actual SPSS and data analysis, let me just take maybe 5 to 10 minutes about the basics of this data analysis. By this time, with the last 5-6 days, you had a lot of very good lectures in which you would understood how to select a topic and how important a topic must be, and what is hypothesis, and how to collect the data, and how to organize classify the data, all those things. We all know that this is a pandemic situation which we have never come across in our lifetime. But I feel that this pandemic has given us a lot of scope for research, not only in the science field, but also in the social science and humanities also. Science, it's obviously, it has a lot of scope of finding out the reason for this pandemic situation, and what happened, from where it has happened, at what rate the first it is spreading, and how to arrest this, which the vaccination is good, and all kind of work is going on in the science laboratories. At the same time, on the equally important note, we have to think about the research in humanities, research in social science, research in commerce, business, everywhere. Because pandemic had taught so many things, right from the importance of savings and the importance of how to cope up with this kind of problems. All such things we have learned here. For example, we could witness the migration problem. Just give me a minute time, because the power has come. So I just wanted to switch over from one to another. Just a moment, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I have to. Yeah.
Sir, we can't hear you, sir.
Now you are able to hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir.
One such a movie which I have witnessed is 1242 kilometers. The name of the movie is 1242 kilometers. And in that we could see that it is a kind of a documentary movie, like, how 6 of the migrants crossed from Delhi to their native place, which ranging around more than 1,000 kilometers. What are the difficulties they faced, all those things, and their family and situation. So you can have some kind of a scope for doing research on the migrations issues and savings, the importance of savings. Families who could not save or who didn't even think about savings had suffered quite a lot. And during this particular period of time, we can think of a project or research about the supply and demand of medical equipment, or source of hospitalization, medical facilities available in rural area, urban area, oxygen and number of beds. So it's all related to the business, commerce, and economics or other social science field, and how the relationship had been broken. That you could see. I have witnessed that a husband who has come from USA had to wait for almost 4 hours outside the gate, and the wife and the mother-in-law could not allow him to get inside this one. The relationship broken, and the psychology of the children, those who are in that home, during the pandemic time, it has changed. They need the research, and so much of scope is available for research because of this pandemic. So I see there are 264 participants. Each and every one of you can just think about a topic which is related to pandemic, not exactly related to pandemic, before and after pandemic, or before, during the pandemic, how it has been changed, job opportunities, different job opportunities. We do not even had about what is Zoom. Okay, or even if you had about Zoom, we have never used that one. Now it is, like it is in every household name. Zoom is a household name in everywhere. So the edutech sector has grown millions of crores of rupees in that industry. So a lot of changes have been happened, and every researcher can take one issue, one small issue, and then he can analyze in it. So when we are analyzing this data or analyzing something related to this research, instead of going me into the lot of the theory or all those things, practically I could see that there are 2 different approaches are there in research. One is qualitative research, the another one is quantitative research. Okay, right. So I say qualitative research, you can simply observe what is happening. Okay, you can be, even that movie which I have said, it is a kind of a qualitative research because one of the team of press people, they have traveled along with that 6 migrants who had a cycle, who got cycles, and they were traveling. So they were observing and they were recording, and they are just getting the information related to that particular issue. So they assess, they analyze, and they are bringing to some conclusion. This is a qualitative research. Okay, but most of the researchers, it is better to have a quantitative analysis. Along with the qualitative approach, you can try to have a quantitative analysis. And even in qualitative research also, you can have a qualitative data analysis. The qualitative data can also be analyzed. Qualitative data in the sense, say, for example, if you take a business, of a product, right? Okay, of a product, see how much of the selling centers are there of that particular product, and how many customers are consumed that product, and what is the price of that product? Was there any change in the price of that product? And then what is the population of that particular district where the product is being sold? So you can have lot of factors or variables related to that particular business of that product, and try to see, compare, or do some kind of statistical analysis and bring some kind of a conclusion that this particular product is being sold only this area, or most of these consumers are from this particular area, or this product is being consumed by mostly the age group between 30 to 40. So you can bring some conclusion based on the evidence of empirical evidence of that. That's it. One kind of analysis related to that particular product. This is, we can call it as a quantitative data analysis related to the business of that particular product. Let me take that qualitative data analysis. Qualitative data analysis, say you can take that same product and relate with the consumer, right? What is the perspective of the consumer? What is the perception of that about that particular product by the consumers? Do they feel that the flavor of that product is so good, or the design of the product is so good, or the the impact which they feel after having that product is so good? All those these kind of opinion about that product can also be assessed, but it won't be in the form of numbers. It won't be in the form of numbers. If you ask the question, do you accept this product design? And they will say, yeah, strongly agree. And somebody say, no, strongly disagree. I don't agree with this product. So these kind of things, it will be in the form of opinion, but it won't be in the form of a number, like how many people were purchasing this particular product and what is the price, all those things. So there, the same product, the same area, you can do a quantitative data analysis as well as qualitative data analysis. Okay, perception, attitude towards that one, quality analysis, all those things can be a qualitative data analysis, right? It depends on the topic which you choose, and it depends on the kind of data you are collecting it. And then comes to the question of how do I analyze this? So today we are going to see a kind of a basics of how better we can analyze the data. How better we can analyze the data. So, okay, what do you mean by analysis of data? Analysis of data is actually based on your objective. Now, if you want to see the objective of, what type of consumers are consuming this particular product, then I think you can try to collect information related to that particular objective, and then you can convert those into question. You do an analysis, and what kind of analysis, what kind of statistical techniques is the next step. So the first step here is that, before going to the data analysis, you need the data, and how do I get that data, and what kind of data I have to get it. That is an important thing. I'll take another maybe 5 minutes to go for how do we get the data which will be available and which will be suitable for the data analysis, right? And for that, I think I think most of your earlier lectures would have given you those things, but fine, anyway, I'll also just add something. So you just collect your review of literature. You normally do it, and in every literature you collect, definitely there may be some kind of a qualitative analysis or quantitative data analysis. So you can just try to compile all those review of literature related to that particular issue, and then you can bring out your objective. So what is your project or your paper or your dissertation's objectives? Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. So based on the review of literature, and you have listed out your objective 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. First objective is related to what, right? Okay. If I want to study this first objective, say for example, where are the migrants coming from to Chennai? So this is one objective. Suppose if you want to analyze about the origin of migration to Chennai, you want to study, then you need information related to, if you meet a migrant, you have to ask the question from where you are coming, and when did you come here, and whether you have come as a family or individually. Suppose how long you have been here, what is your qualification, what is your education, what kind of made you to come here rather than Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, all those things. Is it because of your relative already came here, or is it because of some agency had come here, asked you to come here, or had they given you money for traveling? How did you come there? So all related to all this particular thing, you can get information about that from that particular respondent who is a migrant into that, right? Okay. Say second thing you can say, for example, I want to analyze the job opportunities for migrants in Chennai city. So now you have collected information related to the origin of migration. Now what you are going, what is happening in that one? Okay, what is the current position, and is he getting a job every day of the week, or once in a while, or how many hours they are getting it, how much money he is getting as a wage, and what is he doing that one? All those things you can study about that. And third thing, maybe you can have an objective of to study about the migrants' socioeconomic conditions or family savings pattern of this migrant. So now having collected the data about the origin of the migration, then what are the current working condition now? Now you are going for what the wage rate which he has collected from the employer, what is he doing? Is he sending back the money to their family, or he is saving here? If it is a savings, what kind of savings? Has he have a bank account, or all these things? And suppose if you want to study about this one nation, one ration card and its impact, then you can even ask questions related to that one. Do you have a ration card? Have you changed? Do you get product from the PDS system of Chennai, ration shop for you? So all these information you can ask from them. Okay, fine. Okay, so you are setting the objective of first objective, know about his origin of migration. The second one is status of work here. The third one is savings pattern, and the fourth one may be the improvement or the impact of this on their family. So now you have formed the objectives. Now, if you want to analyze these things, if you want to analyze what are all the information you needed, you need the information about what is his age, from where he is coming from, and what is the distance from there to Chennai. Right, because people from Madurai can migrate to Chennai. Okay, it's very easy. Tomorrow, if he doesn't like that place in Chennai, then he will go back to Madurai. But coming from Rajasthan or coming from Kashmir or Northeast state, they can't go immediately back to their original places. So they should definitely think all these things, and they have traveled around 2,000 kilometers. So the distance is a matter. So you will ask one question: what is the distance from your place to Chennai? So that is a matter, right? Okay. And then how many members in your family? That is also important. Suppose if there are only 2 members in that family, then both people could have come. Or if there are 6 members are there in the family, grandfather, grandmother, mother, father, wife, son, daughter, and his son. I think it's a big family, so that he has to come, he is forced to come here and having a good earning into that one. So the number of members in the family is important. So these are all the important information which is associated with this first objective. So to get those information, I should convert a question. How much what is your age? How many members are in your family? How much distance from your place to this place? So now what happened? You have a list of questions through which you can get the information, and that information will help you to do a statistical analysis and to study about, to say something about that objective. Is it clear? So for every objective, there is a need for asking some information in the form of question and get the data. Okay, the data can be in the form of quantitative information. Quantitative, a number would have been, what is your age? What is your age? If you ask them, then you can say the age is in the number. So what could be the reason for you to come over from there to here? There you may have poverty, maybe one reason. Family commitment is another reason. Then the third one is friends are here, so that I have come here, and no earning activity or employment opportunity there in that state is another reason. So there are 6-7 reasons you have given along with others. So out of these reasons, they will choose one. This is not a numerical information, but this information is also needed for us into that. Is it clear? Right. So now you have formulated your objectives, and each objectives related to the information you wanted to collect. You have converted those things into questions, and you have listed out all the questions and rearrange it. You have a scheme of questions, and that is your questionnaire. Maybe you do a pilot study with around 30 or 40 people and get those things. And while you are discussing or while you are collecting the questionnaire with this 30 to 40 people, you would have seen that some of the questions would have added, and some of the things are repeatedly getting the same answer, so that you can delete it. So after the pilot study, you can formulate your questionnaire, and based on that questionnaire and the number of samples you have selected, how to select a sample, you might have already seen that one. And based on that information, you collect the data. Okay, now you have collected the data using the questionnaire with you. Is it okay? Fine. Now, with that, what do we do? That is the question. This is where we need 2 things. One is you must know what kind of statistical techniques I can apply and use the data which has been collected from through questionnaire to study that first objective or second objective or third objective. So this you will get only with the help of review of literature, or you will get with the help of support from your guide, or repeatedly reading something. Okay, fine. Hope you understand very clear, right? And you keep all your questions with you, and I will give you time. Don't worry about it. Is 5:30, and you can go even beyond that also. And we will get it things clear, right? Okay. So you have, I repeat, you have objectives, and you have you are very clear about what are all the variables I need to study about this objective. To get that variable from the respondent, what kind of question I should ask, right? Say, for example, age is a needed one, and the question can be, what is the age? What is the age? What is the age? You have to ask the question and then get the information. Okay, fine. And each question, listen please very carefully. There may be some PhD scholars or the people, those who are doing research. Please ensure that before going for data collection, take your questionnaire, and each question, suppose if there is a question, the fourth question is, what is your age? Then you must ensure that this question I am asking to the respondent and get the response, and this response will be used in this statistical analysis. I will use this for descriptive analysis. I will use this for correlation. I will use this for multiple regression. I will use this for factor analysis. I will use this for cluster analysis. I will use this for SIM model. So any and every question which you are asking from the respondent, the information which you get it must be somewhere, it should be used in the form of statistical analysis. Otherwise, there is no need to include that particular question into the questionnaire, because you are not going to use that for anything. Then why do you ask the question? And you are wasting your time as well as that respondent time. So every question, before you go for data collection, you just take a checklist, and every question you are asking, you have to write, okay, this information which I am getting it from that fourth question, I am going to use it in the form of frequencies to analyze the first objective. Okay, 18th question, I am going to ask this question to the respondent and get the information to apply multiple linear regression model to express third objective. You please prepare a table, and every question must be accompanied with a data analysis, a kind of a tool, a statistical tool, and the related to the objective. Otherwise, it will take, you will waste a lot of time of yourself. Okay, clear? Right. For now, let us assume all of you have collected data, right? All of you have collected data. Now, maybe one particular researcher has collected data from 600 respondents. 600 respondents, say maybe around 113 questions are there. 113 questions are there for 600 respondents. You have a bunch of questionnaires filled up with that. Now, what do I do? That is the question. So the first thing is you have to create a master table. And creating a master table, you can use lot of packages are there. You can go for Excel, you can go for SPSS, you can go for eViews, you can go for R. So many packages are available into that one. Okay, I'm not well versed in everything, and I know a little bit about SPSS. So as Sweetie asked, then I immediately accepted. Okay, let me start giving you, giving the participants how SPSS can be used into that. I think most of you are familiar this one, maybe, but I'll just take it up this teaching for the people, those who are not familiar with that one. And those who are familiar also can ask questions if you have anything after. Yeah, fine. So now I don't have a PPT. I am just giving you this one. Right? And now I start sharing the. Hope all of you are able to see that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Good. 1 second. Just wait. Yeah, good. So when you open an SPSS, okay, when you open an SPSS, you will get a screen like this. You'll get a screen like this. Fine. Okay. So this is where you are going to enter your data. All the collected information, you are going to enter this data. Fine. Okay. And you look at this one, bottom left, you have two boxes. One is data view, the other one is variable view. Okay, now I click variable view. I click variable view. Could you able to see that variable view?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, that name, click here.
Ah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Name,
Yes,
this
sir.
is name, no? Okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
see the cursor. This is actually variable view. And if I click the data view, you'll get the data view. Here it will be variable will be there, right? Okay. Now I'll just introduce you this variable view. So this variable view, this is an outline of your master table. Outline of your master table. Okay, right? Now listen. I just take the first variable. For example, I'll just take age of the, okay, first is, okay, age of the respondent. Okay, age, like I have created a age, and in this label, I type that age of the respondent. Okay, right? Age of the respondent. So please listen. You can learn all these 10 columns, what it is the meaning. But to the beginners, I want you to concentrate. If you have a notebook, you please take a note of that. Okay, you just take, concentrate on name, label, values. These three columns, you just concentrate for a moment. Name, label, and values. Okay, right. So what is this, the age of the respondent is actually okay, age. The next one is I just go for income. So here I will write, here I will type as income of the respondent. Immediately some of you will ask the question, sir, we are asking the family income. So how do I split into income of the respondent or income of the family? Okay, right. So maybe what you can do now, here you can say income and go for an underscore. One tip I give it to you that if you want to, when you are creating a variable here, hyphen is not accepted. Hyphen is not accepted, so that I am using underscore, which means shift hyphen is nothing but underscore. So I go with that respondent, and the next one may be income of the family. I'll go for FLY. So here what I will write? Here I will say income of the respondent. Here I will say income of the family. So you can have two different variables. Fine. Okay. Now all the three variables which I have written here, you can get the data directly from the respondent, and whatever they say, you can enter as a value. Age, what is your age? And they are saying, sir, 32. Then you can enter the value 32. Where will you enter? You go to data view now. Look at that one, age. Can you see that? Can you see the title?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So whatever you create a variable here, you can see the title here. I think some of you are familiar with that, but anyway, those who are not familiar with that, I'm saying. So now here you can enter age. For the first respondent, the age is 17. The second respondent, the age is 67. The third respondent, it is 38, 56. Then the fourth respondent. So you can write the income of the respondent. Listen here. Again, when you are creating a variable view here, listen. So I said it is income of the respondent, but income of the respondent per month or per annum, is it thousands of rupees or lakhs of rupees? Everything is to be clearly mentioned. So I am writing here income of the respondent per month in thousands. Okay, so whatever I type here, the label about that variable should be clearly defined. There should not be any ambiguity, and you should not give a room for others to ask question what it is. So now I have clearly said it is the income of the respondent. This is per month. It is in thousands of rupees. Okay, clear. So then if I type here, type here, say 23, what that is meaning? The meaning is 23,000 is the per month income of that respondent. But income of the family may be 42. Because all the other members also contributing, there also it is per month into that. Is it clear? Is it clear? Right. So now you take this column, age, this is the column. And the first column is giving you information about all the 600 respondents' age information. So if you take vertically, that gives you one aspect of all respondents. And if you take row, the first row, so the first row is related to all the aspects related to one respondent. So what you have to do, it is better to enter the data row wise. You have 600 questionnaire collected by you. Take the first questionnaire. And fill up these boxes in the first row. So this is related to all the variables which you have collected. Suppose if you have 113 questions in your questionnaire, there will be 113 variables here. And take that first questionnaire, first respondent response, and fill it up in the first row. So the entire first row will be related to that one respondent. Is it clear? Right. Now, coming to that variable view again. So for example, I create one variable called gender. Okay. Gender, how do I enter the gender is nothing but sex of the respondent. Sex of the respondent. Okay, fine. Now, how do I enter the number for this? It is difficult because age, they will give number. Income of the respondent, income of the family, they will give number. I will enter. But gender, I don't have a number. But there are three types of genders: male, female, transgender. Okay. But if you restrict only to male, female, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, what you have to do here, you are nominating certain values. To that gender. Okay. So that I think you have to use this value. So if you click this value here, you will get this box. So here I type 1 is equal to okay, here I'll just use 3 1. 1 is equal to male, then add 2 equal to female, add 3 is equal to transgender. Okay, add. So now there are 3 numbers I can enter. So now I told you now I'm going to concentrate only on the name of the variable, label of the variable, and values of that variable. So for these first 3, I didn't create value because I'm entering as it is. I'm entering only what the data I got it from that respondent, I'm entering here. But here I just get the information whether they are male or female or transgender, but I am going to enter the number associated with that one, that you are free to give that numbers. So here I have given 0 or 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? Fine. So you could see that one is male, 2 is 0, sorry, 1 is male, 2 is female, 3 is transgender. Nothing wrong. You can give 1 is female, 2 is transgender, 3 is also male. It is up to you. This 1 2 3 doesn't have any meaning in it. 1 2 3 doesn't have any meaning in it. One second. Okay, so this 1 2 3 is just an indicator. It is not a it is not any significant on that. Fine, right. Now I have another type of variable called are you married? Or are you working? Then there will be only 2 answers. Do you own a house? There will be only 2 answers. Are you using this particular soap? Yes or no, right? So there will be a lot of yes or no questions. So for the yes or no questions are the question which will give you only 2 answers. Then it is, you can even go for, say, for example, marriage. Okay. So here the marital status. So marital status of respondent. Forget about the spelling mistakes. Okay. So here I just go for only two options are there. One is yes or no. Yes or no. Right. Okay. Are you a literate person? Yes or no. Okay. Right. So listen, please carefully. If you have a question with only two options, better consider this variable as a dummy variable. Better consider this variable as a dummy variable. Okay, fine. So you can assign 0 for one answer, 1 for another answer. Which is 0, which is 1, it is up to you. It is up to you. But it is always better to assign 0 for a less advantaged category. Okay, say, are you working? Suppose somebody is saying yes, somebody is saying no. So that obviously that 0 should be no. 0 should be no. 0, actually I'm going to say no. And 1 is yes. 1 is yes. Okay. So here actually it is marital status. So what I'm doing actually, if it is 0, I say I am unmarried, and 1 is married person. Okay, 1 is a married person. Now listen here. Maybe one more example I'll give it to you. Occupation. Occupation, right? Occupation. So here you can say, like there are, maybe you have identified 7 occupations. Say 1 is equal to 1 is agriculture, agree, and add. 2 is industry. 2 is industry, IND. Are you able to see that? 3.
Yes, sir.
Self-employed. 4. Government employee. 5. Maybe entrepreneur. You have 7 or 6, whatever it is, you can write here, right? And add. Just add and okay. So you have created a variable. Now, how 6 variables you have created. If you go to data view, you could see 6 titles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the rest of the things, it will be named as simply variable, right? Okay. So in the occupation, you will, if I type 2, it will be an industry person. If it is 1, agriculture person. So here in this data set, you are going to type fully numbers. Is it clear? Right. So now listen here. I just see the difference between these variables. So age, income, respondent, income, family, all the first 3 doesn't have any values because we are entering as it is. You can even simply call it as it is variable. As it is variable, right? Okay. Or it is called a scale variable, but you simply, for your understanding, as it is. Okay. As I get information from you this way, I'm entering. How many times will you use ATM card during per day? 2 times. I will enter 2. Somebody else will give 0 time. Then I will enter 0. Great. And gender, there are 3 categories. So I have given 1, 2, 3. So there is a possibility of nominated variable, nominal variables. And yes or no type of questions, better whenever you get yes or no type questions, it is always better to give 0 for one category, 1 for another category, because there is an advantage in it when you use the regression analysis. Okay, fine. And for your information, please don't go for grouping or in your questionnaire. Say, for example, income of the respondent. What normally you people do know, you will give the classifications like 10,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 30,000, 30,000 to 40,000, above than 1 lakh. You will give that one and ask them to tick it. For heaven's sake, please don't do that. My request, because there is a practical usage is there when you do a regression analysis. Okay, because suppose if you ask one person to give their income and if he put a tick mark between 40,000 and 20,000, what will happen? We do not know whether he is close to 40,000 or he is close to 60,000. It may be 41,000 or 59,000. So you are treating both 41,000 income person and 59,000 income person as the same category. It is not necessary. So better ask the question, what is your income? Let him give you the value and you enter here. After that, you can group it. So once if you grouped already, it is very difficult to get back to the actual. But if you have the actual, grouping is possible. And again, even this age group also, please don't go for it. Anyway, he is going to tell the age. Why you are asking that 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30? If you put 10 to 30, 11 and 19, both are under the same category. Better not to do it. So it is always better to get the as it is values than grouping. Okay. If you copy the earlier questionnaire of another researcher, you may be tempted to go for this kind of grouping. It is better to not to go like that. You just try to get as it is data. So the first three variables are kind of as it is information we are entering. Suppose if it is not possible to get in terms of number, like gender, working condition, or all those things, if it is more than 2 category, assign 1, 2, 3. Don't start with 0. Hope you are all listening. Hope you are all listening. So if more than 2 categories, if there are only 2 answers, then give 0 and 1. Which is to be given 0, which is to be given 1 is up to you. And it may be based on the disadvantaged category, you can give 0, and advantaged category, you can give 1. But suppose if you are not able to judge which is disadvantaged, which is advantaged category, just give 0 and 1 for any of your choice. Nothing wrong. If it is more than 2 categories like occupation or this gender, you can simply assign 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? There may be one more category is there. Say for example, educational status. Educational status. Educational status. Here, I just give, kind of a ranking kind of a thing. Say 1 is illiterates. 1 is illiterate. 2 is primary school education. And 3 is high school education. And 4 is collegiate education. And 5 may be professional education. Okay. So now what is the difference between this education and occupation? In occupation also, I have entered 5 values or 6 values. Education also, I entered 5 or 6 or 7. But both of them are nominal variables. But the second one is, I'm gradually going up and up. I have ranked the educational status, illiterate, then primary, high school, higher secondary, collegiate, professional. So I am nominating number, but the second number is better than the first number. Fourth number is better than the third. Fifth one is better than the first 4. So I am ranking them. So which means this kind of variables are known as ordinal variable. Occupation is a nominal variable. Education is an ordinal variable. Marriage is a dummy variable. And age, income are the as it is variables. So though your book, research methodology book, define the variables in different names, okay, I am just giving you, I'm not misleading you, I'm not misguiding you, but in the practical sense, any data you collect from the questionnaire, you can fit it into this 4 type of data. Okay, 4 type of data. Name that is indifferently, doesn't matter. But for your understanding, I just group the variables. What do you mean by variable? Variable is nothing but an information which I'm collecting it from the different persons, which will carry different values. Okay. And if I collect it from 100 respondent about one aspect, I may get 100 different responses. That's what we are calling it as variable. But sometimes it may be 90. Some of the respondents will give the same response of the other also. So 4 categories in a simple way. I just say that. First category is as it is. Second category is dummy, which means 0 and 1. So an answer will carry only 2. A question will carry only 2 answers. Yes or no. Right? 0 and 1. Then the third one is you have so many aspects, but I'm not ranking them. For example, occupation, I'm not ranking. I can't say agriculture person is worse than industrial person, or entrepreneur is worse than the government employee. I can't say that. So I'm not ranking. So that variable I'm calling it as a nominal variable. Then the fourth one is different categories, more than 2 categories, but I am stacking I'm arranging it in a ranked way. Okay, that rank can go up or come down also. So, okay, say for example, highly affected, COVID case, least affected, moderate affected, least affected, not affected. It can even come down also or go up also. So these are the 4 variables are available into that one. If at this particular point of time, if any one of you have a doubt, you can ask me and then we will move. Maybe 2 minutes. Okay. Right. So if nobody is having a doubt, then I think better I can move to another one to show you. Just for a moment. Okay. Could you see that this data now? Sweetie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My dear participants, I have taught you how to construct a questionnaire, how to collect the data, and from the collected data, how do you classify the variables, 4 types of variables, and you have to enter that data in that one. Now, one of you, for example, studied about the general survey of Chennai city people, right? Okay. And that person had considered, listen here, how many variables? Yeah, 43 variables. Okay, just see that. 43 variables have been considered. 43 variables are considered. You could see. Please see, look at this one. What are the variables? The first one is sex, respondent sex, and values are, look at this one. 1 is male, 2 is female, but nothing wrong here. If you had given 0 and 1 also, it's okay. And similarly, you could see that occupation is there. Occupational category is there. Look at this one. Could you see this occupational category? Sweetie?
Sir.
Occupational category. The
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look at this. 1 is managerial, 2 is technical, 3 is service, 4 is farming, 5 is precision. Okay, so there are 6 options have been taken. 6 occupations are considered, right? Okay. And suppose if you take this question, for example, general happiness, the question is, are you happy? Are you happy about living in, actually this is the survey conducted in US. So this is named as US General Survey. US General Survey. And the question is, what is the general happiness level? Okay, so the first question is, the 0 is not applicable. Okay, 1 is very happy, 2 is pretty happy, 3 is not happy, 8 is don't know, and 9 is not available. And let us not worry about that 0, 8, 9. Okay, so let us worry about only 1, 2, 3. 1 is very happy. People feel that I am very happy. Okay, how the Tamil Nadu government has handled the COVID situation. Very happy, pretty happy, not too happy, something like that. So 1, 2, 3, and this 0 is not applicable. Sometimes what will happen, you will ask the question, are you working? And the respondent says no. Then the second question may be, how much is your salary? It is not applicable because I'm not working. Then what do you ask me? How much is my salary? Correct. So in some questions, there may be a not applicable things, but most of our Indian researchers do not give importance for these kind of responses because we just consider only the answers which is required. Okay, and don't know. See, there is an answer like this one. what do you think about the current present government's performance? Somebody can say it is good, somebody can say it is not good, there is a possibility to say that I don't know. So you must give a chance for those respondents also as don't know. When you do a research in business, what do you think about this particular product? I don't know about that product. So there is a chance. And not applicable is different from not available. This is not applicable, this is not available. So you have selected that particular respondent as the respondent to be included in your study. But when you go there, he is not available. So then I think you have to say that it is not available. Again, I tell you that one in India, we are not strictly following this randomness. Say in a street, if there are 100 houses are there, and they will decide that, first house, fourth house, seventh house, 10th house, you go like this. If suppose if that seventh house person is not available, they will leave it as not available. They will not fill it up that 8th house. But here in India, we are not that much keen on that sample choice. So we don't leave anybody not applicable or not available into that one. But anyway, it is there into that. So you see that there are 43 variables have been collected, and variable names are given, labels are expressed, and values are given. Okay, fine. So now, if you go to the data view, you could see the data. So the data has been entered. So if you see that how much of the data, you can see that. So 43 variables and 1,517 responded. Could you imagine a master table of your analysis consists of 1,517 row, 43 column. So what does it mean? Your questionnaire consists of 43. Your questionnaire consists of 43 questions, and you get information, and you have created 43 column, and each respondent's information is related to one row. So there are 1,517 respondents are there. Okay. You could see that, right? Yeah, good. So now what happened if I take the first row, all the 43 information related to my first questionnaire or first respondent. Okay, no doubt. Now you have framed the questionnaire, collected the data, create an outline, a template with the help of variable view, and entered the data. Each number is expressing something, and all these variables can be categorized into 4. One is as it is variable, one is as it is variable, and 2 is okay. 1 is as it is variable, 2 is the other type is nothing but yes or no. The third one is more than 2 variables, but more than 2 categories, but there is no ranking. The fourth one is maybe ranking. Okay, fine. So this is the where your master table is available. Okay, fine. Now the first thing is the basic, like the basic of data analysis is descriptive statistics. So what you do, you just take one second. Yeah, just go to analyze. If you want, you can take a note of it. If you want to have a frequency table, just click analyze, go to descriptive statistics. You have frequencies here, click frequencies, and select any 2 variables or every variable you can take it. But I take general happiness as 1 variable, and I'll go with the occupational category as another variable. 2 variables I have chosen. I have placed it in the variable box. I go to statistics and look at this one. All the statistics which you have studied in your undergraduate course, you can see here. Mean, median, mode, and quartile, skewness, kurtosis, standard deviation, variation, everything is there. Whatever you want, you can click. You can click but I don't want to click anything. You can get the result. Chart, if you click, you can go, I'll go for bar chart and click continue. And anything you want, you can try later, but only statistics and charts are very useful. And I just give OK, I get the result. But the result which you can't see that, I will show you that result now. I'll take stop share and I'll share once again that. You could see, could you see that results?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, can you able to see this this one? Good. You
Yes,
see
sir.
this now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The general happiness, you look at this one. 467 out of 1,517 people have said they are very happy. How much is the percentage? 30.8. And pretty happy, they said 872 people out of 1,570. And what is this one? This 13 people, the 13 people are not available. So that is also included here, right? 13 or 13, which means 1% of the people are not available here. And you could see there is two things. One is percentage and valid percentage. What is the difference between these two? This percentage is considered as the base of 1,517 people. But this percentage is based on only 1,504. Okay, we are ignoring this 13 and we take only the people, those who have answered, I calculated the percentage. So it is always better to take the valid percentage. Okay. So, and this is cumulative percentage, which means pretty happy and very happy put together 89%. So 89% of the people felt that living in US is happy, very happy. And only 11% of the people said that not too happy. And then you can analyze what could be the reason for all those things. Now, suppose if you want to save this and place it in your Word file, what you have to do? You just click here, copy special or copy, and go to open a Word file. There, right click, paste. That's all. So you will get this data there, because here you can't type anything. Here in this output, you can't type anything. So only thing you keep the cursor wherever, whichever table you want to copy, right click, copy or copy special, and then go to your Word file, open a new Word file and click the cursor, right click the cursor and right click, and you will get the paste option. You can paste it. And then you can give a title of the table, and you can give an explanation of the table, and you can give why this 11% of the people are not happy, and all these things you can give it here. See here in this second table, you could see the 2.5% only in the farming. That is in America. But if it is in India, it will be more than 40%. So why the farming people are very less here, or why this technical sales people are very high, which is very high value, which is very low value, and all this information you can explain in a paragraph, and you can give a research justification for that also. So one way of describing this number is as it is, you can describe. But why? See, you can say only 2% of the people are associated with farming. That is a fact. But why that only 2.5% compared to 32% of technical sale is the research. So that is where you have to be so more efficient in explaining why some of the percentages are low, why some of the percentages are very high. Okay, listen please carefully. This output, you are getting it from SPSS based on the data which you have collected. Fine. And this table you can copy and paste it in the Word file. Give a title, table number, everything fine. Below the table, maybe you can even see the bar chart also. Look at the bar chart. Yeah, the bar chart tells us some of them are very high peak and some of them are very low. Now, you can say which is low, which is high. That is one paragraph. The last paragraph must be why this variation. That is where your efficiency of research is there. That is where you can prove yourself as a good researcher. A good researcher will not very happy about to say that this is high, this is low. A good researcher will be giving the reason for why it is very low, why another one is very high. Is it clear? Right. So this is basically whichever variable you want, you can create matrix, you create a frequency table like this. Is it okay? This is the first basic tool in any statistics. So now, next I'll go to the same data. Now, I just wanted to ask this question. You have seen the table of general happiness and the table of occupations. Now, I put you a question. Is there any dependency between these two tables? Could you expect any two, any two association between these two tables? I mean, the general happiness as well as the occupation. Are the occupational distribution anyway associated with the distribution of general happiness? Yes or no? Some answer? Okay, fine. Right. Now, I think you have muted all of these people, sweetie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's good.
So
that's
they are
good,
giving yes in the chat box, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So most of you say it is yes. Now, in statistics, always there is a methodology of saying yes or no. That is what we are calling it as a hypothesis testing. You have to create a hypothesis and then you have to test that hypothesis. Okay, fine. Unfortunately, we are not in a physical form so that I can use the board and say that how to create and what format it is. But anyway, it doesn't matter. In statistics, we have two types of hypothesis. One is null hypothesis. The other one is alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis is, to say that, for example, we always start with that it's not there. It's not there. And then try to prove, yes, it is there. Yes, it is there. Okay, fine. There is no association between income and expenditure. There is no dependency between labor and output. There is no significant difference between rural and urban. There is no significant difference between married and unmarried. There is no earning difference between educated and educated. We always start with there is zero difference. There is zero influence. And then try to disprove that one. Okay, that is kind of a mechanism which has been followed by the statistician. So here, let us have a null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is always denoted by like H naught, colon. There is no association between occupational distribution and the general happiness. So what are we trying to say? We are trying to say the opinion about the life is nothing to do with the occupation which they are having. That is the null hypothesis. What is the alternative hypothesis? The alternative hypothesis, no, it is not like that. Definitely the occupational distribution or the occupation which they possess will have an influence on saying the opinion about the general happiness. So now what should I do? I should bring these two variables together. That is in the form of cross table. So you have a cross table and that hypothesis can be tested with the help of a chi-square analysis. Okay, chi-square analysis is one of the very famous analysis to test the association between the two variables, two qualitative variables. So now what I do, I just go to analyze, take down for chi-square table to test, to apply chi-square test, go to analyze, descriptive statistics, cross table. The moment you say cross table, you have one row variable and one column variable. So what I do in the occupational category, I put it into the row and the general happiness, I'm putting into the column variable. So horizontally, you see occupational category. Vertically, you can see general happiness, right? Okay. So any two variable, if you want, you can choose it. It is up to you. So because you just wanted to check the variation in one particular variable, the variation in the other particular variable, are they associated or not? We are not going to say this depends on that or that depends on this. We are going to say, are they associated or not? For that, we set the null hypothesis that there is no association between the variable X and variable Y. So if we put X in one row and the Y in column or Y in here and X. Go to statistics. If you click statistics, you can see a lot of indicators are there, but you just click chi-square. You just click chi-square and just continue. And then go to cells, click cells, in which you click row percentage, column percentage, which means we want row percentage and column percentage. Continue and just give OK. Just give OK. And I'm able to see the result, but I will show you the result. Okay, I'll show you the result. Yeah, could you able to see the result?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Look at this one. So now you have, you can look at this one row wise. You have a managerial, technical, service, farming, precision, and operation. Column wise, very happy, pretty happy, not happy. Correct. All right. Okay. So now look at this one. Suppose if I add all this 1, 2, 3, if I add these percentages, I will get 100. What does it mean? Out of 337 people, those who are in the managerial category, out of 337 in the managerial category, 131 said very happy, 176 pretty happy. So which means 38% of the managers said very happy. Okay, right. And so this is the way we can compare the row wise. Column wise, you can think, no, the very happy, the people who have said very happy is 441, out of which operation 52, which is 11%, and precision 11%, and farming 2%. Look at this one. So in the people, those who have said very happy, only 2.3% of the people are in the farming. Okay, fine. So it is, you can add all the second percentage, you will get 100 here. You can add these percentage, you will get the 100 here. So what does it mean? You will get a cross table. The table which you have seen separately as a frequency table, now you are getting both things are together. This again, you can right click, copy, paste it in your Word file, and you can take each percentage and which is the percentage who is higher and which is lower, and you can take all those things and discuss about it. And you can see you can make a statement like out of the occupations, only 2.3% of the farming people are very happy. And so, which means that people, those who are doing farming work are not at all happy, even if they are living in America. Okay, fine. And now we are coming to the testing of hypothesis. We have already had a hypothesis. What was the hypothesis? The hypothesis is nothing but there is no association. There is no association between variable X and variable Y. So here we have to, we need a decision-making rule. The decision-making rule here is, look at this chi-square test table. There is one Piazza and chi-square value, which is 26.94. You can ignore this one. You have to worry about only this sig value. Okay. Look at the cursor, which I say. The sig value is 0.003. 0.003. Okay, fine. Now, I just one minute. Okay, it's not a minute. Like listen here, one simple rule I'll say that. Take a note of that. If the sig value is less than 0.05, if the sig value is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. If the sig value is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. We reject the null hypothesis. So here it is 0.003, which is less than 0.05. Okay, I repeat once again, the rule of the testing of hypothesis with respect to sig values, if the sig value is less than 0.05, we reject null hypothesis. There is another 3 things also there. I don't have time to go into that one. For a moment, you just take this one. If the sig value is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. Okay. If it is a full length workshop, like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, then I can explain what is the sig value, what is confidence interval, what is level of significance, what is sampling distribution of statistics, why do we reject it or why do we accept it. All these things can be explained but I think the time that's given to me is 1.5 hours. So within which I wish to try to at least teach 5 or 6 statistical tools. So just I ask you to follow this rule. If anywhere the sig value of your result is less than 0.05, you reject the null hypothesis. That's all. Okay, fine. And what is the null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is always saying about no difference, no influence, no dependency between one on the other. So such a kind of thing. Okay, clear. So based on this result, we are rejecting the null hypothesis that there is no association between occupational distribution and the opinion about the life. By rejecting that, what we are concluding? We are concluding that the opinion about the general life we received is associated with what kind of occupation they are having it, or what kind of occupation they are associated with. So definitely there is a correlation, there is a relationship between occupational distribution and the opinion about the life. It's clear? Right. Okay, now I just go to another tool, right? Yeah, fine. Just a moment. Okay. I go to another set of data, which you are seeing here is an employee level data. Is an employee level data. See, sometimes in our research, we may face a situation to test the claim of somebody. Okay, so in business, some of the companies, say for example, Hero Honda motorcycle, when they introduced at the time initially, they have claimed that in the full page advertisement, if you buy our Hero Honda motorcycle, you will get 84 kilometer per liter. You know the mileage, 84 kilometer per liter mileage you will get it. Now also you are getting lot of claim like that. Okay, fine. Or some of the people are having a belief that in the IT sector, the first month salary is around 25,000 to 30,000. Okay. Or what is the age group of rural women getting married in India? Or what is the average age at which the marriage happens? Or what is the average at which the Indian youth stop their education? Or what is the average earnings by a Zomato employee per day? Or how much is the Ola Uber driver earning per day? Or how much is the active cases per day in Tamil Nadu? So there are so many things that the expectations are there. So now we wanted to test here. So for example, there is a question I asked some of my students, what is the expected first month salary of an IT sector people? And they say that, ranging from 25,000 to 40,000, they say that. I think around 400 participants are here. Definitely, I think some of you also may have those kind of thinking that 25,000 or 40,000, something like that. So now how do you test? How do you test about that claim? So how do you test that particular say now even the claim is there now that if you apply this cream, Fair and Lovely or Fair and Glow, something some cream other, if you apply that within 14 days you will get you will become fair, something like that. So claim is there. Now we have to test the claim. So here the claim is 25,000 is the first month salary. So the null hypothesis here is mu is equal to 25,000. H naught colon mu. Mu is nothing but the mean salary of the beginner in IT sector is 25,000. That is the claim. Now I wanted to test as a researcher. How do I test? What should I do? I should just collect information. I have collected information. Here you look at this one. I have collected about the gender, education, job category, salary beginning, and previous experience. All these informations I have collected from around 600 people. Let us assume that. So now I have entered the data. No doubt about it, right? Okay. Now to test that one, to test a claim which somebody says that one, I just go to analyze. Take down, analyze. Could you see that? And compare means one sample test. Could you see that? And can you take it down? Analyze, compare means one sample test. You click, right? Now, what is the variable I wanted to test? Beginning salary. I'll place the beginning salary here. So these are all very, very simple technique, but effective technique. Effectively, you can make some analysis. And what is the test value? 25,000. Because you said it is 25,000. Beginning salary is 25,000. H naught mu equal to 25,000. Because you are thinking that the beginning average salary of a beginner in IT sector is 25,000 per month. I am testing. I have collected data from 600 people in the IT sector in Chennai, and I just go to the result, and I got the result. I'll show you the result just for a moment. Yeah, could you see that result?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can see that one. 474 is the total size. Mean salary is 17,016. 17,016. Okay. And look at this one. What is the SIG value? 0.00. Whenever the SIG value says it is 0.000, please you consider that as 0.001. All of you, you take a note of it. If the computer shows that it is 0.000, okay, you should not take it as that 100% acceptance. It is 0.001. So again, it is less than 0.05. So that I am rejecting the null hypothesis. I am rejecting the null hypothesis of what? No, it is not 25,000. It is less than that. It is less than that. Okay. So you are, by using a simple one sample t-test, I am negating the claim, what it says. Suppose now instead of 25,000, let me put 17,000. So let us see 17,000 and let us see what happens. You could see, analyze, compare means one sample test. Here instead of 25,000, I'll go for 17,000. And I say, okay. And I stop share. I'll share again you that result. What do you see now? What is the SIG value? What is the SIG value now? 0.965. 0.965. Could you see that, participants? 0.965. So which is greater than 0.05. So I'm accepting the null hypothesis. What is the null hypothesis? The mean salary of the beginners in IT sector is 17,000. So that is being accepted. So based on the SIG value and the statistical. So you're authentically saying. So now you can test. You can test, for example, per day, categorically reject or accept that. Fine, okay. So this is another tool which you can implement. One more tool here is, yeah, I'll just show you. Suppose some of you may even say that, for example, the the male and female, fixation in IT sector, there won't be anything, isn't it? In a wage, there should not be any wage discrimination, which means null hypothesis is there is no wage discrimination, which means average earnings by the male should be equal to average earnings by the female, isn't it? So now how do I test that one? How do I test that one? I should have the beginning salary. I have the column. I should have the gender. M is male, F is female. So I've created already a variable gender. I've created a variable salary beginning. So now with this two information, I want to test. So now you can even, a similar situation, you can say, how much is the expenditure for, per day in an average family for rural urban, or health expenditure for rural urban. You can have earnings by rural people, urban people, North India, South India. So many situations you will see, you know, how the two groups are different. Even say, for example, how much money is spent by a woman and a male member through online. You have a particular item with two categories, not necessarily male, female, rural, urban, educated, uneducated, any categories, but you have one group and one variable. So now what is the null hypothesis? There is no difference between that group and this group. So how do I test that one? Go to analyze. Compare means independent sample test. Independent sample test. I just take the beginning salary as my variable. What is the grouping variable? Gender is the grouping variable. How did you define? I have defined F is female, small f, and M is male. Suppose if you had 0, 1, you give 0, 1, right? Continue. And I could see the result. I'll show you the result now. Could you see the result?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, look at that result, last result. So what is the female salary? 13,000. Male salary is 20,000. Male salary is 20,000. So obviously there is a difference. But based on this, you should not say that one. Only based on the sig value, you have to say that. So come down here. You look at the sig value. The sig value is 0, 0. So which means less than 0.05. So that we are rejecting. We are rejecting the null hypothesis that there is no gender discrimination. So gender discrimination is one important aspect. Everywhere we speak about there is a gender discrimination, there is a gender discrimination. So if you want to categorically check, is there any gender discrimination? With the help of numbers, you can apply this sample test, t-test, independent sample test. You can easily say that one. If somebody else want to say you are wrong, then let them do a right analysis and show it there. Is it clear? So this is an analysis. And one more thing is also there. Normally we apply here. For example, before and after. Okay, before and after. So you give a training for your employees. You give a training for your employees. And after the training, whether it has been improved or not. Say, for example, marks scored by your students before a training and after a training. Okay, so you have before and after, and you can compare. So the earlier thing is one aspect, compare with two groups. Now one variable, but before and after. It's okay. But I don't have a data for before and after here. Check whether I have the data. Yeah, it is there. I think. Yes. Yeah, look at this. Could you able to see the data? This is about self-help group data. This is about self-help group data, which has been done by one of my students. Okay, fine. Now you look at here. Here I have income before joining self-help group, income after joining self-help group, expenditure before self-help group, expenditure after self-help group, savings before joining self-help group, savings after joining self-help group. I have the data. Okay, the data has been collected from around 100 respondents. Now I have entered this data. Okay, fine. Yeah, these are all. Yeah, look at this one. Savings, income before, income after. It has some value. Now I want to check the impact of the self-help group in the family. Okay, because of the joining the self-help group, whether their income has increased or not, whether their expenditure increased or not, savings increased or not. How do we do this test? You can go to analyze. So this test is known as paired t-test, paired, P-A-I-R-E-D, paired t-test, T small t test. So go for this. Compare means paired sample test. Click here. Now I take, that income before and after, right? Okay. I'll choose that income. So I think it should be pair. So I'll just click shift and Using shift, I just take this one. Then expenditure, shift expenditure. You have to choose pairwise, right? Okay. Savings, pairwise you have chosen, right? This one you have to remove it. So 3 pairs I have put it. One is income before, after, expenditure before, after, savings before, after. Any doubt here? Okay. Now what I give? I just give okay. I give okay. I get result. I get result, and I will, I will just show you that result. I'll show you that. Look at this one. Can you see the table here? So income before joining, it is 2.611. Income after joining, it is 3.01. It is actually in thousands of rupees. Thousands of rupees per week, you can take it like that. So 2,000, 3,000, right? And expenditure before it is 2.40,000. Expenditure after also it is increased. Savings, it is 2.08, this is in hundreds of rupees. Savings in hundreds of rupees, this is in thousands of rupees. Okay, so 2,611, 3,014, 2,044, 2,611, 208, 270. Hope you understand. Now you have to test and conclude what is the null hypothesis here. There is no improvement in income after. There is no significant change in income after joining self-help group. That is the null hypothesis. For related to expenditure, there is no significant shift in expenditure after joining self-help group. The third null hypothesis, there is no significant shift in savings after joining self-help groups. But look at that first one and second one, 0, 0, 0, 0. So we are rejecting the null hypothesis. By rejecting the null hypothesis, what are we coming to a conclusion? There is significant influence in income. There is significant influence in expenditure. Could you see that? So the result, this is actually collected data from a village in near Thoothukudi, right? Thoothukudi. And we have got this result. We have published a paper also on this thing because of the women joining in the self-help group, they were able to increase their income of the family. They were able to increase their expenditure, which means mostly the expenditure goes to the children's education. But when it's come to the savings, you see what is the savings SIG value? 0.45, which is less than 0.05. What does it mean? They are accepting the null hypothesis with respect to savings, with respect to income, and with respect to income and with respect to expenditure, there is a significant improvement. But with respect to savings, no improvement. What does it mean? What is the psychology here? The psychology is, after joining that one, they were able to increase their income, but also they were able to increase their expenditure. Because when they form a group, there is a possibility of thinking about more expenditure. Okay, let us invest on this one. Let us let us buy this. Let us do that. Let us spend on education, something like that. But so that they don't bother about the savings. In other words, they don't have much significant shift in their income where they get a scope for improving their savings. So it's a very wonderful result. With that, you can easily come to a conclusion that null hypothesis is rejected in 2 cases, null hypothesis is accepted in 1 cases into that. Is it okay? Fine. Now, suppose if there are more than 2 groups, what will we do? If there are more than 2 groups, say for example, let me take the same self-help group example. Okay, right. Here there are 3 groups are there. Maybe you can take for example, religion or community. Okay, there are community, you have 4 communities are there. 4 different communities are there. I just take the after joining self-help group. Is there any difference between these things, these 4 communities? And the earlier I have only 2 groups, male, female, rural, urban, educated, uneducated. Now, if there are more than 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, among these 5 groups, if there is a significant difference in mean income or not, how do I check? For that, I go for analysis of variance. Click analyze, compare means one-way ANOVA. Okay, one-way ANOVA. I just go to that income before or income after. I can take income after they join here. Income of the respondent. Factor, I'll go to community, okay, or religion. Community of the that factor I go for, right? Okay. And in the options, I go to the descriptive statistics is necessary. You remember, you have to go option and take descriptive statistics and click OK. So I get result and I'll show you the result now. I'll show you the result. Look at that one. Could you see that mean income, open competition, sorry, not open, other caste, it is 3,000 or 30,000. BC, it is 35,000. MBC, 31,000. SC, it is 22,000 or 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees, 3,500 rupees, 3,100 rupees, 2.2. Obviously, SC has come down. SC has come down, isn't it? Right. So now this null hypothesis is 0.03, which is less than. So if it is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. Here also it is less than 0.05 because it is 0.03. So what is the null hypothesis here? There is no significant difference among the groups with terms of mean income. Or each group, the mean income of each group is same. That is the null hypothesis. There is no difference. That is the null hypothesis. But what is the alternative hypothesis? Yes, there is a difference. Now the result, the sig value says that we are rejecting null hypothesis and coming to the conclusion, not all the groups are earning same after joining self-help group. The result shows that it is only 2,200, but the highest is 3,500. So even here, that SC community people are not able to match up with the existing one because the average is 3,000, but only 2,200 is the income. So this kind of numerical analysis will obviously help us in a better way of doing that one. This is what the t-test and chi-square test are one by ANOVA. It is 540. So, sweetie, what can we do? Maybe we'll give some question numbers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's better, you know. Yeah. I think I wanted to teach even correlation regression, but I think it will take time.
Okay.
So, can we ask some of the questions so that I think we can proceed?
Yes, sir.
My dear participants, if you want, you can ask some questions. You can unmute and you can ask questions. You're free to ask questions, please. I know it is too short. Within this, it is very difficult only. Physically, I think if you go for it, it will be better. But I have to
Sri Krishna, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's a wonderful session. Okay. It's very explanatory, sir. I really thank you to recollect my old memories, sir. Sir, I have some clarification, sir. The people, when we wanted to go for, chi-square analysis or, different analysis, right? Hypothesis testing, sir. As a researcher, okay, what kind of analysis which we have to go, sir? Okay, some people said no, we have to go for an hypothesis testing, or some people said no, we have to go for ANOVA. Okay, can you just
in ANOVA also you have a hypothesis testing?
Yeah, correct, sir. And one more thing, sir. So which way we have to go for a single tail or a two-tail test, sir? In which way we have, say, I'm doing the project called direct defective payment systems. Okay, which I have collected the data.
Yeah.
Okay, when I wanted to go for that's a two variable. Okay, two-sided variable. One is on the customer, another one is the channel, which the customer is doing the payment.
Yeah.
So in this case, which I have to go for a single tail or two-tail test, sir. See, generally all the tools are showing only two-tail test. Okay, can you throw some light, sir?
Yeah, finish it. Your questions. The others are also waiting. My dear researcher, I think that is fine. But my point is, see, for example, it is again based on your objective. And normally we go for, say for example, urban expenditure is higher than rural expenditure always, isn't it?
Correct.
Urban expenditure on healthcare, let us take. Expenditure on healthcare by urban people is higher than the rural people. It is very clear, right? Okay.
Correct,
There are two ways in testing. One is I just have the data for rural people and urban people.
Correct.
I test the null hypothesis. There is no difference, first of all.
Correct.
When I say there is no difference, I am considering two tails. Okay, two tails. So I am just saying that equal or not equal. That is the two things. Equal means both of them are same. Null hypothesis. Okay. Alternative is I can say not equal. When I say not equal, A can be less than B or B can be less than A. But if you want to go with an alternative of no, A is always less than B, then you can go for one tail test. Do you understand?
Okay.
See, it is up to you. Point number one, you have data, healthcare expenditure data for rural and urban. Clear? Right.
Clear.
You have a mean. You have a mean value for both. Fine. Now, null hypothesis, there is no difference between the two groups. That is a null hypothesis, common null hypothesis.
Correct.
Alternative hypothesis, commonly what we do know, we will just say there is difference. That's all. There is difference. There is no difference is null hypothesis. There is difference is alternative.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
When I say there is difference, rural is less than urban. One possibility. Rural is greater than urban. Another possibility. Rural is not equal to urban. Another possibility.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Three.
in which three things, I just take rural is not equal to urban by using two-tailed test. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Right. And so first thing is I want to reject that null hypothesis. That is my aim.
Okay, sir.
My aim is to say that both are not equal. Right? Okay. Second, only I have a question that whether when I say they are not equal, urban is always greater than rural. I want to prove that, then I go for a single tail test. Do you understand? So it is based on your expectation. Some people believe in that one. I just wanted to say they are not equal. And based on the descriptive statistics, I will prove that urban people are greater than rural people. But if you want to say that, it is completely skewed distribution, I want to prove that explicitly that urban people are very high compared to the rural people, then you take one tail test and prove it. So don't give much importance for that one tail, two tails, confidence intervals, though it is all based on that only you are getting the result. But in the humanities results or social science research, we just take that, we try to prove, to reject that null hypothesis and give an explanation for that one. But if you want to specifically go into that one, nothing wrong. You have every right to set that alternative hypothesis as an one-tail test, and based on that, you can reject it. While you are doing an analysis, you can even choose that option also, two-tail, one-tail, and based on that, you can reject or accept the hypothesis. Is it okay?
Fine, sir.
Right,
Sir,
next.
Sir, sorry, one more question, sir.
Make it fast.
So, okay, sir. So when we go for a significance, right, we need to go for a 90 or 95%. Sir.
That is what actually I didn't have a time. Otherwise, I would have clearly explained what is the relationship between confidence interval and significant level. Okay. Why do we take that? If you say 5% level of significance, you are 95% confidence.
Correct.
Okay. And if I set the 0.05, I said 0.05, right? Okay. Yes. Even based on 0.01 also you can set. 0.10 also you can do it. But since the time is not available, I just take that default. By default, we have 0.05. 0.05 means it is level of significance. So I am doing this test with the level of significance of 0.05, which means I am 1 minus 0.05, which is 95%. So I am 95% confidence about this result. What does that mean? If I repeatedly do this exercise 100 times, 95 times, I will get the same kind of result. Or if I ask 900 people to do this exercise, 95 people will come and say the same kind of result. So if it is 90% confidence, 10% level of significance. 99% confidence, 1% level of significance. Okay, so based on that 0.05, you reject or accept, that it can be based on 0.10 also or 0.01 also. If you do it with the help of 0.01, you are telling the result with 99% confidence. If you are doing with 0.10 and you are 90% confidence. But instead, in between, we are setting 0.05 as the level of significance. And based on that, if you take a decision of rejecting or accepting, you are 95% confidence about the result which you are saying. Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Right.
Absolutely clear.
Next question, please.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Deepa. Thanks
Please,
for
ma'am.
sharing your wisdom with us, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, this is regarding that income question.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, you said we should not give it in the form of groups. We have
Yes,
been doing
yes.
that all
Yes.
this time.
Yeah.
But in our society, we have a stigma. People doesn't like to expose their salaries. So there is a possibility of skipping that question. So in that case, we will lose the data, no, sir. What should we do
No,
at
ma'am.
that
No,
point
ma'am.
of time?
See, they are ready to say it is 40,000 to 60,000. They are ready to choose one group, no?
Yes.
Which means that they are ready to share at least their group level income.
Yes.
When they are ready to say group level income, you leave it to him. Let him write 40,000 or 60,000 or 50,000. You don't ask him exactly what is the show your passbook. We are not asking that.
Okay, sir.
They are ready to give. Now, my point is, if you have the group level data, you may not run the regression analysis.
Okay.
So once if you collect as it is data, and then you can group it. With the help of SPSS, you can easily group it. You just
Okay,
go to
sir.
SPSS and type in the question box, how do I group it? It is very easy. Within a moment you can do it. But once if you collect the grouped data, from the grouped data, you can't go to the actual data.
Okay, sir.
If it is an actual data, from the actual data, you can go to the group, and grouped data, you can do all this one way, ANOVA, chi-square, all those things. Actual data, you can do it for regression, multiple regression, everything else. So that is why I'm telling you that.
Okay, sir.
Just ask the question, what is your income? Let him give the range.
Okay, sir.
Let him give one
And-
number.
Okay, sir.
People
Sir,
used to go for even age also group. Why? What is the purpose? They will say age.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Sir,
What?
instead of, and one more thing, sir, instead of having it as a open-ended, if we are going to increase the number of categories, that is, if we are reducing the intervals,
No,
is that okay to have like that?
interval and all, I think it is later, ma'am. My point is, you are asking the question to the respondent, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? What is your monthly income? That's all you are asking. One question.
Yes.
Let him give one number.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
You are collecting 1,000 respondents. After collecting your questionnaire, you will have 1,000 values, isn't it?
Yes.
Enter 1,000 values in one column.
Okay.
You know what is the minimum and maximum.
Yes, sir.
The difference between minimum and maximum can be divided by some amount.
Okay.
Suppose your minimum income is 10,000. Maximum
Yes.
income is 1,20,000.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So 1,20,000 minus 10,000 is 1,11,000.
Okay, sir.
Okay. You want to have it in 5 groups or 10 groups, it is up to you.
Okay,
If
sir.
it is 5 groups, you can take 20,000 as the classification interval. If you
Yes.
want 10 groups, you can go for 10,000 as the thing. It is all basic calculation only.
Okay.
And the first one will be less than, or last one will be greater than.
Okay.
So you can say just greater than 1 lakh, less than 10,000. And in between, the classification may be based on 20,000 interval or 10,000 interval. It is up to you.
Okay, sir. Thank
That
you,
can
sir.
do it later. That you can do it later.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Please, Manimegalai, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am Manimegalai calling from Tirupur.
Please.
Sir, you are the eye opener about SPSS, sir, to me.
Thank you so much, Manimegalai. Which college you are from?
Sir, I am from Tirupur Chikana Government Arts College.
Super. Very good. Very good.
You are
Thousands of topics are there in Tirupur. Thousands really are there. You
Yes.
people have the scope to do it any number of papers. Please go ahead.
Sir, I want to learn correlation regression from you. How can I contact you?
Are you a teacher or a research scholar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am an assistant professor, sir.
Then you do one thing. You arrange a program. I'll do it freely. Don't think that I will ask some money.
Oh, okay, sir.
You arrange a program and I will teach. That's what I can do.
Sir, okay, sir. Can you send
Meet Sweetie. Ask Sweetie. Sweetie will give you information about it.
Sir, okay, sir. Sir, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next. Two participants
Any-
raised hand.
No, sir. Already they asked
Finished?
questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In
Yes, sir.
such a case, you go. We'll finish it.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Give that Manimegalai my number.
Okay. So sure, sir.
Thank you very much. Oh.
Thank you. The customary vote of thanks, finish it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I call Kalayarasan sir to give vote of thanks.
The essence of all beautiful art is gratitude. Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of the Department of Commerce, Shift 2 and IQAC, first of all, I express my sincere thanks to God Almighty for making today's event a grand success. By His blessings and grace, we are able to make the event what it was. I give a really heartfelt word of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Duraisamy, Professor and Associate Dean, College of Science and Humanities, SRMIST, Chennai, who spent his busiest time gracing the occasion. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and shown us a new path in data analysis, sir. Thank you, sir. I thank our management, Reverend Dr. Brother Aroki Raj, Director and Secretary, Dr. Fatima Vasant, Academic Director, Dr. Usha George, Principal, and Vice Principals, Dr. Geeta Rufus and Dr. Meena for their support and encouragement in organizing this 8 days professional development program. I express my sincere thanks to all the participants for taking part in this PDP. Last but not least, I thank our department faculty, Dr. Sweetie Regina Mary, Head Department of Commerce, Shift 2, and Professor Janardhanam for their wonderful cooperation in organizing this professional development program. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. Actually, really, I thank Father also, because I still remember when Father was doing a PhD, we used to discuss about these topics and we helped. And my good friend Fatima as a principal, we were again very close friend and we discussed about these topics. And your vice principal Geeta, who is from our Madras Christian College, she's an alumnus of Madras Christian College, very enthusiastic. And I thank all three of them. And also I thank Sweetie for arranging these kind of programs. And I thank all of you participants. There are around 400 participants. During this pandemic, I think if people are showing this much of interest means really, I think it's good sign. And I also thank our Dean of SRMIST CSH, Dr. Jyoti Kumar sir, and some of the faculty from SRMIST like Tinakaraj, and so many people have joined. And really, I thank all of them for attending this program. And I have shared my email ID. You can give your feedback. Feedback is always an important one for any teacher or any resource person. So you are free to feel and write to me, to my mail ID, and feel free that what you want or what you have expected, you have not given, not received those things. You please feel free to discuss and form as a group so that I think this social science fraternity can grow and contribute to the society very well. So thank you, Matt. Thank you very much once again for St. Patrician, and thank you very much. You can take note of my email ID and send it to me. Thank you so much. Yeah, fine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, fine.